Okay, this isn't the video that I was going to make because I can't find the CD that I wanted, but it's by a totally different artist anyway. Anyway, I was just thinking the other day that it's been 20 years since I've been into this guy and his various projects. 2004 was a bit of a reawakening for me with music because I'd not been particularly listening to music for a long time by that point. I was in a relationship with somebody who basically used to say, have you not got enough records and CDs now? Well, if you like music, then you can never have enough CDs and records, can you? And this was before streaming, downloads and all the rest of it. So you had to physically actually buy music on CD or, whatever form it took. So this guy, Stephen Wilson, used to be in a band called Porcupine Tree. Well, he still is, pretty much. And in 2004, I went to see Rush. They were coming over here for the first time in over a decade to do a 30th anniversary tour. So I went to see those, and to coincide with that tour, Classic Rock magazine brought out a prog rock special. And in that magazine, they talked about this band called Porcupine Tree, and I thought, well, they sound interesting. Perhaps I ought to listen to them. So I really got into them. They're, you know how you get my new favourite band kind of thing. Well, I really got into them. I bought a load of their albums. I went to see them, and then they decided in 2010 that they were on the verge of becoming really big. One of those bands that people have never heard of but can sell out pretty big venues, or most people have never heard of. And they sold out the Albert Hall at the culmination of a tour they were doing, and there was enough demand for tickets to put on another night, but Cliff Richard had already booked out the place, so they couldn't do that. But before they went on stage at the Albert Hall, they had this huge row, and they basically decided to end it, or go on to an extended hiatus. So Stephen Wilson, their front man, the guy who formed the band, it was his idea. He launched a solo career. And I think this, To the Bone, is his, I think it's his 5th solo album, I think. And this was, that cover is awful. It looks like a Smurf. I don't know what he was thinking with that album cover. But the album previous to this was called Hand Cannot Erase, which is a really heavy concept album it's loosely based on a true story, but it was about a woman who was relatively successful, and she lived in a big city and decided that she was going to withdraw completely from society because, you can do that in a city of hundreds of thousands or millions of people. And I felt that album, I really enjoyed it when it came out, and then I was listening to it and I thought, this is really getting bogged down in the concept. There are some really good tracks on it, don't get me wrong, and there was a big tour to promote that. And then with this next album, To the Bone, the one we've got here, he just went back to, it's just standalone rock songs, and this is a really good rock album. And it's also the first time I think he worked with an outside producer on anything. Normally he'd produced all his own stuff, and that's Porcupine Tree or his solo material. So he brought in an outside producer, and it's just an album of really good songs. Now, when it came out, there was a huge push to try and get this to #1 in the album chart, because I think they brought it out in August, which is quite a slack time for album sales because people are on holiday, but it's just before the start the promotional push for Christmas. And he appeared on Breakfast TV. Videos were made for nearly every track. There is an interview with him on Breakfast Time with Nagamunchetti, Charlie State, I think it was. You can see that on YouTube. So there was a huge push to try and get this #1. And in the midweek album charts, it was at #1 because pre-sales are included in that. So if you flip it over, To the Bone, that is a co-write with Andy Partridge, the title track with Andy Partridge from XTC, and a lot of these songs have got he's used a different drummer than what he would normally use, and the drumming is not particularly busy like he would normally have, but it's powerful. So To the Bone, that's co-wrote with Andy Partridge. Nowhere Now is just a straight ahead rock song. Pariah is a duet with a female singer. Same Asylum as before, that is got quite a bit of falsetto in it, which I'm not massively keen on. On his last album, he used falsetto quite a lot. Now, Refuge is a song that is, I think it was written about the time, do you remember that horrific photograph of that child refugee who was drowned and washed up on a beach? I think it was inspired by that. It's about, you know, refugees just being ordinary people trying to make a better life for themselves. Permeating was the big thing at the time with this album, because it's kind of it's his attempt at a pop dance, you know, something to get you on your feet. And there's a video to this with dancers in it. It's a really good pop song, to be honest. Blank Takes is a bit nothing. People Who Eat, well, it doesn't last very long anyway. People Who Eat Darkness is I think it's a song about, I think you don't know who's living next door. So I think the kind of premise of it is you could have a terrorist living next door and you would never know. So that's the kind of dark subject matter that he's normally known for. So you got the juxtaposition there, Permeating, which is, you know, this upbeat pop song, and then Refuge and People Who Eat Darkness, which are quite dark and have got a heavy subject matter. Anyway, after this kind of COVID hit, so his next album was delayed, which is called The Future Bites, which I thought was really, really good. And there's a sort of music that he should be making. It was a rock album, but with a lot of electronic influence on it. And the next one after that, which came out last year, was called The Harmony Codex, which I was not keen on at all. In fact, I've not even bought it. I've only listened to it on streaming. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. And he's got another album coming out next year. But anyway, yeah, that's To the Bone by Stephen Wilson, today's CD of choice. Hopefully next week I can find the album of what's going to do. But this is one of my favourite albums of the last 10 years. It's really, really good.